So yesterday, Mercer and I went to Chinatown to get our favorite Chinese place. Um, and we were walking by. The area is known for having many derelicts around.
Okay.
And first of all, before I even get to that, there's like a part of that area that they fenced off, like that you can't walk into, like a random part of this like sidewalk that's like kind of like a park
Oh, okay.
with like chain link fences. I'm sure it's like repave or like fix the brick or whatever, but that's usually where the bums used to hang out. So I call it like the debummerized zone, like the demilitarized zone. Like no no homeless are to enter in this area. This is like where you leave your homeless behind and you do your dealings. So we were walking by and there's like these three crackheads. Two were standing and one was in a wheelchair, and they had like this conversation, and then the two ladies walk away and they're like, he's so nice, very handsome too. Like it's like like imagine your grandma trying to set you up with someone, except that person is a crackhead, and you're because she had the very grandmotherly voice. I mean, she was also a crackhead, but she was like, very handsome. What a handsome, nice boy.
That's definitely
Like,
a grandma thing to say.
yeah, except the grandma is also a crackhead, which was hilarious. That's what I found so funny.
Wicked smart, wicked cool, wicked fucking stupid, whatever the fuck. Something wicked.
I'm baking like a toasted Caesar. It's so hot here.
My boy's wicked smart.
Cause the boy is hotter than hot. He's hot, hot, hot!
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Man, I can't believe it's not Marvel Month anymore. It's seriously sad. It sucks because we know Infinity War is coming out this weekend, and unfortunately, like the Marvel stuff's done. Like when you're listening to this, it's Marvel's over. It's done. It's gone.
Yeah, I'm super sad about that, but I'm also like really stoked to get back into what we got, because I think what
Yes.
we got is fire.
No, absolutely, 100%. Anyways, welcome back again to another episode, guys. Wicked Hot, Kevin and John. As you know, Wicked Hot Marvel Month is sadly over, but hey, we got plenty of other good content coming your way. And speaking of which, Kevin, we posted on the Instagram this time, and we shot a guess at you guys. As always, if you follow the Twitter or the Instagram at Wicked Hot Talk, you can see the picture and partake as well. But we dropped the hint for you guys to guess what this week's episode was going to be. And Kevin, what did we end up picking?
We posted a picture of Braveheart, Mel Gibson from Braveheart. We did have a couple guesses. All of them were sadly wrong.
Was one of the comments, I feel like we've gotten this a lot, where like at least one of the comments on either the Instagram or Twitter, it's like very nice. It just I like it
no,
or
we
something like
didn't-
that.
We didn't get one of those.
Okay.
We did get some answers, not the right answer, but one
Any
of
that
them, I don't
popped
know
up.
if they've ever seen us post a picture, but it's never what we actually post is the topic.
Yeah.
One of the guesses was Braveheart. So, no, it's not. We're not talking about Braveheart. Because it's a guessing game.
If anything, we could have been very obvious where everyone's guessing other things. We're just like, no, we're just doing an episode on Braveheart.
Yeah.
We could have done that. We
One of
definitely
these
should have
days,
done
they're
that.
going to guess what we posted, and they're going to be right.
Yeah. And I'm hoping it never gets to that easy of where it's like, oh, I know that movie. It's the guy with the blue faces, Braveheart.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. So clearly no guesses. So this week, guys, we're actually covering movies that are based on historical events, or not like based on true stories, like I guess we kind of included those too, but like historical events that happened, how it relates to like what the movie was based on, or even characters that were based on the different movies. I'm excited for this one because honestly, I thought this was going to be easier than I thought
Yes.
it was. And it ended up being like I was legitimately writing a book report for a history class.
Yeah, I usually go into it having like 1 page worth of notes. Each one of mine is 5 pages. I'll just put it that way.
We have enough for a 10-page paper, like a small like project. Hey, we could be used for who knows, Kevin? Maybe someday we'll be used for a college history thing / like media. I don't know if there's a class like, I'm sure it is. It's college. There's always a class for something.
History, media, and history, or history and media.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And they're like, check these guys out. That's exactly what the professor says. Check these guys out. They're
Yeah,
really
because
cool.
he's so hip.
Yeah, he's very hip. He's wearing his Jesus sandals. He's got long hair. Okay, guys. So I'm just going to get right into it. My first one, and this is honestly one of my favorite movies, is The Last Samurai. There's awesome acting by everyone, especially Ken Watanabe and Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise doesn't Tom Cruise the shit out of this movie, in my opinion.
No,
I think he's very much not Tom Cruise. He's not like, well, Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, he's
I feel
not
like
Mission
Tom
Impossible
Cruise,
Tom Cruise.
There's only two types of Tom Cruise. There's like Tom Cruise when like he can be good, and then there's Ethan Hunt. I think Tom Cruise is almost convinced that he is Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, it was like the Jack Ryan movie. Like it was just Ethan Hunt in a Jack Ryan movie.
Yeah, a more lethal Ethan Hunt.
Yes.
So just getting back right into it. Last Samurai, amazing action set pieces, bloody as all hell, and a soundtrack by Hans Zimmer that is on my frequent rotation. Da, 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 da. So good. It's funny. I actually wrote my outline with the music in the background. So
nice.
It definitely helped the creative juices going. But despite how awesome this movie is, there's actually a lot of historical inaccuracies, starting with our main character that Tom Cruise plays, Nathan Algren. So Tom Cruise's character is actually loosely based on two men, Jules Brunet, who's a French army captain, and Frederick Townsend Ward, who not only sounds like someone who assassinated a president, he was also an American mercenary, and he helped westernize the Chinese army. And
the fuck was he doing all the way over there?
Yeah, I know. I know the movie's based in Japan, but he trained Chinese people in China. Let's break down this badass Frenchman, Jules Brunet, because this guy is a fucking baller. So he actually got to Japan in 1867 as part of a military mission that was sent by Napoleon III. And if you're wondering who Napoleon III is, he's actually the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte, like the Napoleon. But yeah, he was sent there on request of the Japanese shogunate, which is basically the military dictators of Japan, to be trained in ways of Western warfare. So it's actually pretty interesting because and this doesn't really have to do with the movie at all, but the shogunate's capital of Edo is now what is Tokyo. And the old imperial capital was in Kyoto, which is also that like what are those words that like have different letters that you can like anagram, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So an anagram. Like Kyoto is an anagram of Tokyo, which I think is pretty funny. They're like, we're moving it over here. We're just going to throw this letter here.
We're going to mix some letters up, make a new word.
And make a new capital. Yes. In the movie, Algren, he's a veteran of the Indian, I guess the Indian Wars. I don't know what they're called, but like the wars after the Civil War, where we're basically just killing a fuck ton of Native Americans. The Americans are. And he basically gets sent on a military mission when they offer him like, hey, you get to train the Japanese army, all that stuff, you get paid, blah, blah, blah. Like when one of the like Japanese bad guys is like hiring him and the colonel he used to work for.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing. So the French actually train the Japanese in regards to infantry, artillery, cavalry, basically like all manner of Western or European warfare. And so whilst Brunet was there training soldiers in artillery warfare, in 1868, the shogun was overthrown. And that started what was known as the Boshin War. Or Boshin? I don't know. The Bosch. The Bosch War. Well, basically, it's the Japanese Revolution. So it's loyal forces to the shogunate versus those who wanted power restored to the emperor. So basically, due to this happening, French military mission was ordered to leave Japan, but Brunet was like, fuck that. and join up with his homies that he was training, the shogunate. So he basically joined the shogunate armies to fight against the imperialists. And it's pretty funny because obviously in Last Samurai, they show imperial rule as being evil and oppressive. But in reality, they were actually the ones trying to free Japan from the military dictatorship of the shogunate. Because they instilled...
weren't evil? In the movie, they make it seem like it's cut and dry.
Yeah, so basically in the movie, the emperor is good and the samurai are bad.
I see.
So, yeah, because well, I'll get into that later, but basically that's how it's perceived in the movie. The empire is like totally evil, and the rebels, I'm sensing a trend here, are actually the good guys. So, after countless battles and defeats, ultimately led to a remnant group that fled to the northern part of Japan, which is Hokkaido, where Brunei organized an army and made a last stand at the Battle of Hakodate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you practice that? Because it sounds like you did.
I did practice it. I wanted to make sure I got it right.
Fucking
it's not Hakodate. Hakodate. Battle of Hakodate. It's the Battle of Hakodate. The final battle actually parallels the battle the final battle in the movie, where Algren is in full samurai armor. Unfortunately, Brunei did not wear samurai armor. And it's definitely not the same battle, because the battle in real life featured 7,000 combatants and 10 warships on the Imperial side, and 3,000 combatants and 11 warships on the Shogunate side.
Damn.
And there are definitely no naval battles in The Last Samurai.
No. That would have cost way too much money.
I could see like the battleship. It's basically like Rohan showing up at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And like Katsumoto is just like, check out all my warships. And then just like 50 fucking battleships just show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so clearly like the samurai had way more modernization on their side than what was led to believe, if they have like ironclad, like Civil War style warships. So before I move on to the Katsumoto stuff, I wanted to touch briefly on the other guy that inspired the character Algren. And again, that's Frederick Townsend Ward, the assassin to the president. So funny enough, he was also hired by an empire, the Qin dynasty in China, to train and modernize the Chinese army to fight against rebels during the Taiping Rebellion. It's kind of ironic that both Western men came to help the imperial institution rather than the rebels, like how Tom Cruise helps out Katsumoto and the rebels against the empire.
Yeah.
So very much the opposite for both characters that he's based on. So the guy that actually inspired Katsumoto, played by Ken Watanabe, so he was known as the true last samurai, and his name was Saigo Takamori. So Saigo actually fought on the side of the Meiji Emperor, which is the one depicted in the movie, during the previous bit where I talked about the Boshin War. And that period eventually went into the Meiji Restoration, and basically the modernization of Japan. And this is with a time period that The Last Samurai is taking place at this point. So what pushed everyone to lead what would be called the Satsuma Rebellion, which Saigo would actually end up being frontrunner of, dealt specifically with the Meiji Restoration. So the people of Satsuma were pissed with the fact that the country was taking a turn towards modernization. And basically what happens is they abolish the social samurai, or the social status of the samurai class, and an overall culture change. And this was actually one part of the movie that was pretty accurate, because it shows when Algren first arrives in Tokyo, and it looks pretty like not modern. It looks like a fishing village or whatever. And there's a huge change when he returns from being like a prisoner, and like everyone's like in European suits and dresses. Like everyone's very like westernized, where before they were wearing like fucking gis and shit. You know?
Yeah, the what are those hats? Like the pointy hat, like Raiden hats.
Yeah, I think they're called. I don't want to assume what they're called, so I'm just gonna stop right there.
Yeah, it's like stepping out of a time machine.
Yeah,
Like you come back, it's
and he was only
completely
only there. He was only captured for a year.
different.
Actually, not even a year. It was like wintertime, and then it was like from wintertime to like spring. And also the part where the swords are outlawed in the movie was also accurate because this was a decree passed in 1876 called the Haitore, or Sword Abolishment Edict, and it basically prevented anyone that was military or law enforcement to carry weapons of any kind in public.
Oh shit!
We see this. Yeah, so Katsumoto actually walks into like the like Senate chamber, ministers' chambers, or whatever, and he has a sword, and everyone else is like in like normal suits, and he's like in his traditional garb, and they're like, you clearly don't know that we passed that law that keeps you from bringing in swords and shit. So back to Seigo. So basically, due to all the trouble while serving the emperor, with the culture shock and the fact that no one listened to his proposals anymore, Seigo actually decided to go back to his hometown with all the faithful samurai who wanted to stay true to their traditions. Katsumoto also served on the Emperor's Council, like how it's shown in the movie, but Seigo never actually taught the Emperor how it's depicted in the movie. And also Katsumoto leaves like in the same manner that he did to his old village with all the remaining samurai that wanted to stay like close to like the tradition of what it means to be Japanese, right? So Seigo ended up making a Jedi Academy of sorts that taught samurai morals as well as an artillery school. So the school is basically like a paramilitary education facility.
You make it sound really inviting.
Yeah. So Seigo actually had gotten a lot of popularity in this region. That in 1877, the Meiji government thought that he was going to start a rebellion, and they sent a warship to confiscate weapons at his academy. And that is actually what started the war. Their response to just send people for no reason.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because Seigo never wanted to rebel, but the region was like a powder keg. So they were obviously the ones that attacked the warship. And he basically was like, all right, well, fuck, now I have to lead this shit. Like he kind of was just thrown into it.
Yeah. He's like, I got to back up what you guys just fucked up for me.
Yeah, basically. There were about 4 to 5 battles, but the most decisive one, and the one that inspired the final battle in the movie, just like the other one that I talked about previously, was the Battle of Shiroyama. So at this point, Seigo, he and his samurai, they're outnumbered 60-1, 1,500 are 500 samurai against 30,000 imperial troops.
Damn.
Yeah. And Seigo, like Katsumoto in the movie, had a last stand with a samurai, but they were actually severely worn down with artillery fire. And so there's like a couple different accounts here that I read, but Seigo knew there was no hope left, and he ordered a charge into the imperial lines. So they actually reached the front line, and they were owning them because they were in close quarter combat, which led to the lines almost breaking. But Seigo ended up taking a bullet in the hip, and
Bummer.
he was carried off the battlefield, and he was supposedly committed seppuku. And after his death, the rest of the samurai ended up charging back to the imperial lines and all getting fucking wrecked. Like they just all got fucking massacred right there. And every single samurai that was with him was killed. Every single one. And that's how the rebellion ended. Literally, they killed every single rebel. Like every single one. There were no surrenders. Every single one of them fucking got killed, which is crazy.
Damn, that really goes along the lines of the Star Wars.
Yeah, it really does. But yeah. So I think Katsumoto, or Ken Watanabe's Katsumoto, was probably the most historically accurate to a certain degree within the movie. So one thing they actually didn't get right was the fact that the samurai weren't shy to use guns. In real life, they actually used guns, mostly muskets and such.
Damn, that's not accurate at all in the movie.
And they also had their own, like, I mean, they still had swords and stuff for close quarter combat. And Seigo actually had both muskets, like I said, and some artillery of his own during the rebellion. So he had fucking cannons and shit, which is not depicted in the movie at all.
No.
Everyone's still in very much traditional like samurai armor, fucking kicking ass still.
Yeah, with
but
swords primarily.
Exactly. And Katsumoto even wears like samurai armor in the movie. Well, Seigo, which is the guy he's based on, only he wore his like modernized military outfit rather than samurai armor. He didn't wear samurai armor.
Wow.
And most of the samurai, it really is. Imagine going to the movie and you're like getting ready, like, oh man, Tom Cruise is gonna put on that sexy ass samurai armor, and he's just like in his normal button down shirt.
Yeah.
You're like, well, why do they fucking tease that? But yeah, so not only Seigo was the one that like wore like normal modernized stuff, like the rest of the samurai weren't in armor, which is really shitty.
Damn.
Yeah,
That kind of ruins the allure of the whole samurai thing.
basically, yeah. And there was one last thing that I wanted to talk about before I stopped talking about The Last Samurai, is that no part of the story or even a thing anymore is ninjas. I don't know if you remember, but there's a fucking amazing ninja scene in The Last Samurai where like a clan of ninjas attacks the village. No, that didn't exist. Apparently ninjas hadn't been used since the 1600s.
Damn, I didn't realize it was that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still convinced there's ninjas around. I feel like assassins can be ninjas.
Yeah.
You don't think Yakuza in Japan, the Japanese like mob, don't have fucking ninjas?
Yeah, but when I think of ninjas, I think like the gi, the head wrap, always got to be wearing your black belt. The shoes.
You and I have very different ninja.
What is your
ideas.
ninja like?
My ninja's like how fucking Bruce Wayne trained with all those fucking ninjas.
No,
Where they're like in tactical combat armor. Like they're basically like Snake Eyes and G.I. Joe.
No.
That's my idea of a ninja. That's a fucking ninja. Fuck out of here with your goddamn gi and black belt.
No, mine is basically the foot from Ninja Turtles, but
No.
better.
No.
That's
No.
what ninjas are. I'm
No.
sorry to say, but that's what ninjas are.
Okay, I will go with they have a gi, but it's like a slim fitting gi. You know,
Oh
so
yeah,
like
it's
the
not
big-
like the big old fucking like 1 inch thick fabric. No, it's like silk.
it's like tactical gi.
Yeah.
He's jumping around in his silk. I just think like silk pajamas. And this guy's over here like in silk. It's just like squeaking while he's walking. Ninja are supposed to be like super stealthy.
He's wearing like windbreaker material. He's like
That would be amazing. No, but ninjas exist. Don't even.
I think they do.
So there may not be any more ninjas, but they're definitely captains of pirate ships, and pirates lead to Somalia, and Somalia leads to your next pick, Kevin.
You really narrowed it down there. Yeah, my next pick is Captain Phillips. With,
I could also said captains like Captain Phillips
True, yes.
instead of like baconing meter it further away to bring it back closer.
It was a little more impressive that way, though. So, yeah, mine's Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks. So, we all kind of know the story. Well, if you've seen the movie. I'm assuming that you're listening to this, you've seen the movie. Tom Hanks.
There will be spoilers
Yeah, there will be some spoilers for this almost 10-year-old movie.
and life event because it was a true story.
Yes. So, Tom Hanks is the captain of a cargo ship in what's like commonly known as dangerous waters. Like this coast specifically at this time was.
Yeah, it's like the Red Sea, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is accurate. There were pirates in this area in real life. So we're starting off good. We're starting off real good.
Seems very accurate.
So in the movie, he has his vessel overtaken by Somali pirates and basically held for a ransom. And he gets
his
rescued.
vessel.
Yeah.
Now you're making it sound like a legit pirate movie.
I'm trying to make it sound a little more legit. So, in the movie, he gets rescued at the end after being like heroically sacrificing himself to save his crew. Great ending.
Yeah.
Perfectly acted scene, especially when he gets rescued. It's a great scene.
Oh yeah, totally.
So the actual story is nothing like what happens in the movie.
Really?
Yeah, apparently Captain Phillips in real life is a piece of dog shit. And basically put everybody in that situation on purpose because
Okay.
he was a dick.
Okay.
One of the crew members that was interviewed for this CNN story basically said that Phillips wasn't a leader like he was in the movie. He was kind of like
A bitch.
he was kind he was kind of an asshole and wanted everyone to do everything his way, and he wasn't having any of like anything else, any recommendations, anything. So
It seems like Tom Hanks plays a lot of assholes because I'm pretty sure Sully was not a good person either.
I think that was not depicted the way it happened.
Right.
So the guy that's doing this interview, he worked really closely with Captain Phillips on the actual ship, and he actually said that he was alarmed by some of the behavior that Phillips had in the beginning, like before they were even like overtaken by pirates.
What do you mean? What do you
So, and like apparently going back, like he had a reputation for being an asshole for the last 12 years. And they even said he was like a self-righteous captain. It couldn't take any advice.
Shit.
And basically said
Well,
that
no wonder he
nobody,
got fucking overrun by goddamn pirates.
yeah, he said that nobody wanted to sail with him. Like nobody wanted to be on his crew.
That's a shitty captain.
Yeah.
It sounds like Jack Sparrow right now.
So I'll just give a little backstory on the whole situation there. So Phillips became the captain of the Maersk, Alabama was the name of the ship. Maersk, Alabama.
Yes. Yep.
So he became the captain in March of 2009, and like right around that time, they were having a lot of issues with piracy in that area that they were sailing in, and the company Maersk left a detailed anti-piracy plan in all of their ships that was used by International Maritime Organization. So there was like a list of what you were supposed to do when they're in an area where pirates are, or when pirates are in pursuit of their ships.
Okay.
So Phillips said that he didn't want anything to do with it because and he said that he wasn't going to follow like anything they wanted to do.
Captain Phillips was like, "This is my ocean. I am Neptune. Fear me, mortals."
During a 3-week period, 16 ships were attacked by pirates in this area.
Fuck.
So you got to be on high alert.
Yeah.
And I don't think the movie really shows how bad of an area that was to begin with, because it doesn't mention anything about 16 ships. It does mention other ships, but 16 is quite a lot of ships over 3 weeks getting pirated.
Yeah. 16. Fuck. Yeah. And those are like big ass fucking storage or cargo carriers or whatever.
Yeah, huge ships. So the film opens up and Phillips is doing these safety protocols, and he even says like, let's tighten up security. I want everything closed, locked, even in port. The real Captain Phillips was nothing like that. His crew even said that he was kind of a bitch and was really loose with the rules.
Fuck, I'm really disappointed that this was in the movie. This sounds awesome if this is.
I know the movie could have been so different, and not in a bad way. It just could have been like way different. They could have made it into a comedy.
That is exactly what I was thinking. I would have loved Tom Hanks just being a complete dick. Like, leave everything open. I don't give a fuck.
So the report that he got from the company Maersk said that they need to travel at least 600 miles offshore. Captain Phillips in real life was like, fuck that. And when they were overtaken by pirates, he was 235 miles offshore. So he was way the fuck inside
Holy
the pirate
shit.
zone.
What does it matter how far offshore you are?
Apparently the boats can't see you if you're that far away, or they can't spot you from land unless they have like legit technology.
I see.
So the boats are just kind of waiting. The pirate boats are waiting in the water about the distance away where they can see boats. So 600 miles, they wouldn't have even been able to see them.
I see. Okay.
And they would have just
But
gone
why
right
the fuck?
through.
Why wouldn't Captain Phillips want to do that? That seems like easy.
They do say that they think that he wanted to get the trip done as soon as possible, and that was the quickest route. The 235 miles offshore rather than 600.
I see. Okay.
So
They kind of do that in the movie, though, don't they? Doesn't he say he wants to get it done quickly?
yeah, he does say that in the movie, but they also make it seem like he's really
Competent.
Yeah, like he's confident, but also really interested in the safety of his crew, which in the real story he is clearly not.
Okay.
So CNN actually interviewed Phillips shortly after the incident happened. This was before the movie. And he denied being 235 miles offshore. He said that he was closer to 400 miles. And that's easily proven false.
Yeah. At least he wasn't like, I was 700 miles offshore. Like, he just like blatantly lied. He just,
yeah.
at least this was like kind of like a half lie. He's like, it's still not good, but it's not as bad as 200.
Yeah, exactly. So he basically admitted after they called him on, he's like, yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly how far we were offshore, but it's proven that it was 235 miles.
Right.
There was a crew member that was tasked on the ship to just monitor ships in the area. And when he recognized that there was a pirate attack like inbound, Phillips didn't want to hear it. He was like, I don't give a fuck. We're staying on track. And that was kind of the end of it. So in the movie, it depicts.
This is insane.
Yeah, I know.
This is insane. Like, how is he so like nonchalant about this shit?
The real story sounds more like a movie than the movie sounds like real life.
It really does.
So in real life, there were actually three different pirate attacks on the ship. In the movie, there's only the one. So after the first one,
wait, so were they robbed? I don't understand. They didn't take the ship hostage.
no, they got away from the first two, and the third one is the one that actually happens in the movie.
Okay.
But they make it seem like there's only one.
No, there was 3 boats that went after him at the same time.
Three boats, but no, in the real story, it happens over 18 hours. Like the 2 pirate attacks happened over 18 hours, and then the third one is like right after the second one.
Okay, because don't they just like get him with the wake of the ship? That's how it was depicted in the movie. Remember, the other 2 boats like gave up.
Yeah, but that's not how it happened in the movie. In the real story. In the real story, he does veer off course and goes the complete opposite direction of the way that he's supposed to go. And that's how they kind of fight off the first 2, but the third one, they eventually catch up. And at one point, a guy is like, after they've already had 2, a guy is like, hey, there's a boat inbound, pirate boat, 7 miles offshore. And at that point, Captain Phillips was basically like, well, they're too close. We're pretty much fucked. At that point, there's like a protocol.
Wait, they were 7 miles offshore?
7 miles away from the boat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So at that point, there is a protocol for pirates inbound, and you're supposed to go down to the engine room and lock the door and just don't come out. That's pretty much it. Oh, and cut power to the boat. So like it's not that hard.
It seems like a pretty easy protocol to follow.
And this is like, you're not going to believe this.
Oh, God.
After they determine that the pirates are inbound and within 7 miles, Captain Phillips orders the crew to do a lifeboat drill. And the crew member says, like, we have to do these drills once a year on this boat, and you want to do it now when we're being attacked by pirates. And Phillips says, yes, we have to get this drill done.
This guy, the real guy, sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's like, he seems
This sounds like some fucking like Deadly as Cat shit.
it. He sounds like a crazy uncle or something.
He does. Like a crazy uncle that drives a fucking boat and is the biggest dick in the world.
So while they're doing this drill,
Fuck, that's amazing. That is so amazing. God, I love that.
While
That's
they're doing
great.
while they're doing the drill, the crew member's like, "Well, they're 7 miles away," and this is like quoted from Captain Phillips. He says, "Yeah, 7 miles. What's the difference?" Like basically, we can get a lot done in this 7 miles, and we're gonna get taken anyways. We might as well just get this safety drill done.
Oh, God damn. That is fantastic.
So pretty much, I mean, it works out like it does in the movie. They get overtaken by pirates. There's 4 pirates that go onto the ship, and they basically let them on without like any fight or anything. Like,
Well, how are you supposed to fight them?
well, they didn't really follow the protocol that they were supposed to do. Phillips basically said when they get on board, we need to just throw our arms up and say that we surrender. But the protocol was to go down the engine room, turn off the power, and just wait in there because it's a secured room. Phillips didn't want to do that, but another crew member, Chief Engineer Mike Perry, who was played by David Warskovsky in the movie, he actually was the hero of the real story because he escorted everyone down and locked them in, and apparently the engine room was like 140 degrees, and they were in there for 12 hours.
Holy shit.
Which is unbearable. And
How do they not fucking die in there?
I have no
If anything,
idea.
he's the 1B to the villains in this movie.
Pretty much. Yeah, he just locks him in there to kill him.
I will roast you slowly and feed on your flesh.
So he's like the actual savior in the real story. He pretty much saves everybody, but there's a few people that stay on deck, Phillips being one of them. And it's funny because like as everyone's like going down, one of the crew members says like, "What do you want to do?" And he said his plan was to let the pirates come aboard, and he didn't have a plan after that. This fucking guy.
Why was it, basically, so what you're telling me is Captain Phillips is a movie of if he actually followed protocol.
Yes. It's a movie where they tried to make it less interesting than the actual story.
Yeah, seriously. This is like a what if Captain Phillips followed the rules.
Yeah. So at one point, and this actually happens in the movie too, they capture one of the pirates and they hold him.
Yes, I remember this.
Yeah, they hold him and they're going to do like a swap. And in the movie, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I believe that they swap for Captain Phillips, the other pirate.
Okay.
So in the actual story, it doesn't happen like that. The pirates renege on their deal and like just take their guy back. And then Captain Phillips basically says like, "I can show you how to man the escape vessel." So they're like, "Okay, yeah, you're now one of our captors." So he basically shows them like how to get away on the boat, which is
Is the military called yet at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
No, actually, no, they're not.
Okay.
He actually gets rescued 4 days later, so I don't think the military is called in until after the main ship is rescued.
Okay.
So it's so ridiculous because the crew is talking about the story after the movie has already come out, so they've seen the movie and they all say, like in this interview, one of the guys says, "We vowed on the ship to take this to our grave and we wouldn't say anything." Because in the movie, it's portrayed as like he gives up himself, and he even says like, "If you're going to shoot somebody, shoot me," in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Which he never says in real life. They make it seem like in the movie that he is like this hero saving his crew, but in reality, like he just said, "I'll show you how to man the boat," and then they took him hostage.
Yeah.
And they were going to take that to their grave and not tell anybody, but Captain Phillips wrote like he agreed to like have it this way, so that like they came out and said like, "This is not how it happened."
Okay.
and basically squashed like what the movie representation was.
Right. That he's a hero.
Oh, this is kind of the last part that I have. Sony actually purchased the rights to a bunch of the crew members' lives and stories.
And went with none of them.
Yeah, because they ended up paying him like $5,000 a piece.
Figures this is a Sony movie.
Yeah, and luckily there were a few that didn't take the deal, so they could actually come out and talk about what happened because they signed the ones that did it signed a non-disclosure. So they couldn't actually talk about what really happened.
So maybe Marvel can buy their stories, and we could have the Marvel version of a shitty Sony movie, and see how that goes.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I want to see the real story behind this fucking clusterfuck of a pirate thing.
Yes, I want it. So Captain Phillips was seen as a patriot. My next guy is the Patriot. It's funny because my next movie is actually criticized of how poorly it has reflected its characters and how historically inaccurate it is. I still think it's an awesome movie.
It's an awesome movie.
And it's kind of ironic that Mel Gibson seems to be in like the most historically inaccurate movies.
Yeah.
Because Braveheart was pretty not accurate at all.
Yeah, and there's a ghost car in it.
Yeah, it's true. And despite my and other people's opinions on Mel Gibson as a human being, I think he's a pretty cool action hero. But yeah, I think that he's good in war movies, and this is one of my top ones for him being in it. And you're honestly going to have to bear with me because I'll be jumping back and forth because the timelines are all over the place. And speaking of which, I think we could still work this as a Marvel episode with the amount of timelines that are going to be featured in this segment. So to start, and I didn't know this until I did my research, but Mel Gibson's character of Benjamin Martin is based on multiple militia leaders in South Carolina. And the two that he identifies with is Francis Marion and Thomas Sumter. So with Francis Marion, his backstory basically aligns with Gibson's Benjamin Martin story after the Battle of Camden. And I don't know if you remember the Battle of Camden in the movie is when he meets up with Heath Ledger in that house and they like look. So basically when it's like a turning point where like, ugh, like Americans aren't doing so hot. So at this point, the real guy, Francis Marion, actually gathered a bunch of irregular militiamen, and he started to show his efficiency in guerrilla combat, and he started to terrorize loyalist troops. Same as how like Gibson and his militia are taking down redcoats left and right. Francis Marion also was doing the exact same thing. He actually only did like surprise attacks. He never engaged any of the people head on.
So he's a ninja.
He's a ninja, basically. He's the ninja of the American Revolution. But yeah, so they do surprise attacks, they do quick retreats, and we see that in the movie because they have that awesome training montage scene that's like training melds into like real practice when they're doing like the training fire because no one knows how to shoot a gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the movie, just like in real life, the British hated Francis Marion, and they repeatedly tried to stop him, but he evaded them every single time. Okay, so luckily, the villain of the movie, specifically Jason Isaacs' character, Colonel William Tavington.
Please tell me he's a real guy.
Yes, it's only based on one person.
Okay, sweet.
His name
I'm so glad that he's real.
Yeah, his name is Bannister Tarleton.
Damn, that's a name.
Yeah, that's a white people name.
It is. Bannister, like it's like a hipster mom being like, look at something in the house. What's the name gonna be? And a kid, one of the 6 kids runs up and is like, Bannister.
But this is like the British way you spell Bannister. Banastre.
Of course it's R-E.
Yeah, of course. So the real guy, Tarleton, actually crosses paths with almost every single person that Mel Gibson's character is based on. And specifically, when it related to Francis Marion, Tarleton, much like in the movie, is sent to capture or kill him in 1780. And Marion eluded Tarleton by using swamp paths.
Swamp ass?
Yeah. Well, they definitely got swamp ass in the swamp paths.
Okay.
The enunciation of paths is is top notch.
So not swamp ass.
Yes, not swamp ass. So Tarleton eventually gave up, and he started calling him the Swamp Fox, which is funny because if you remember,
That's a fucking Marvel character right there.
yes, Swamp Fox, yes, it is. If you remember the movie, Ben Martin's hideout is actually located within a swamp.
Yes.
So that's like kind of calling back to that to the real guy. And so I'll just start from the beginning of the movie here. Movie opens up, Mel Gibson and his family in South Carolina. They're working their farm alongside their quote unquote employees who all happen to be black and not slaves, conveniently. Which I gotta say, one thing that always bothered me about this movie is that all the Americans conveniently who had employees in the South were all considered employees and not slaves, because that would make them evil.
Yeah, they did. Motherfuckers.
Yeah, and it's crazy how they just lie about that, because everyone that is seen as good conveniently already freed their slaves and now just employs them. They're just like, yeah, you know.
They're not slaves if you pay them. That's like their logic. But if you leave, I will kill you.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, your pay goes to me housing you.
Yeah.
And so I'll just take all that back.
Your
so you're
rent,
my
your
slave.
food, your clothes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it indicates the whole family goes to Charleston, South Carolina, to support or to vote on the support of the Continental Army. And at this point, it's supposedly taking place in 1776, right? When, you know, the Revolutionary War kind of is the hotbed of.
Yeah. It's a big year for America.
Yeah, big year, big year. So Mel Gibson's son ends up joining the army, and then we get an exposition about all his exploits with George Washington up in the North. So there's a part of his son's narrative that 2 years later, Charleston falls to the British, which, as I understood, would make it 1778. Wrong. That was Savannah, Georgia. That happened in 1778. So Charleston and the whole Southern theater within the Carolinas actually began in 1780, which is an additional 2 years
Damn.
from what the character said, which is a huge oversight.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I watched the movie before I even, knew all this stuff. When I was researching this, I'm like, no, Heath Ledger wouldn't lie about that. It's not actually 4 years in the future. It's only 2. It's definitely only 2. No, it's 4 years. So he was 2 off.
Jeez.
So the scene where the Redcoats get to the farm and Tavington, which is Jason Isaacs' character, kills one of Mel Gibson's sons. They burn down his home, all that stuff. This actually is synonymous to what happened to another person that Gibson's character is based on, which is Thomas Sumter. So Sumter also had his house burned down by the Redcoats. Specifically, Tarleton was the one that burnt his house down. And this and just like in the movie, this influenced Sumter to battle ferociously during the war. So
Damn. So
Sumter
Jason Isaacs,
wasn't even. Yeah, Jason Isaacs.
his character had 2 pissed off people coming after him in real life.
Exactly. There's actually 4 pissed off people coming after him.
Oh, shit.
But I omitted the other 2 because they weren't as big. But
He made a lot of enemies.
Exactly. But Tarleton, also known for a lot of enemies. He's also known for giving a lot of nicknames, because then he's basically like the Trump, like calling like Crooked Hillary and
Yeah.
like shit like that.
Lion Ted.
He
Lil
nicknamed.
Marco.
Yeah.
I could go on for days.
Yeah, I know. You really could. But yeah, so Tarleton actually nicknamed Thomas Sumter the Carolina Gamecock, which is how we have the South Carolina Gamecocks. And I'm
Damn.
not even kidding.
That's really interesting.
Tarleton is like good at nicknames. He's like, this is going to be a sports team in like 200 years.
Yeah. He had so much to do with American history. It's crazy.
He seriously did. He's like, fought in the Revolutionary War, invented the Carolina Gamecocks, founded the University of South Carolina. So, but yeah, Tarleton also, he ambushes Sumter, and that's kind of like the same way Tavington sets a trap for Ben Martin. And in the movie, like when they're raiding the supply wagons, and then they open like the supply wagon, it's like a bunch of soldiers, and then Tavington comes down the hill and like attacks them. I don't know if you remember that scene, but
Yes.
it's basically the same exact thing because it also happens in a creek, which is what happens during the Battle of Fishing Creek. And this is when Tarleton attacks Sumter, kills a bunch of militiamen, and he also captures a shit ton of them, just like how he does in the movie. So, interestingly enough, the final battle scene in the movie depicts an amalgamation of the events of two battles: the Battle of Cowpens and the Battle of Guilford Courthouse. So these events were semi-accurate, with being the fact that it contained Tarleton and his dragoons being mostly wiped out during the battle. Because if you remember, obviously, Tavington dies at the end, and like a lot of his unit basically gets killed. So it's funny because the way like Gibson's characters are tied to this is the fact that he was basically inspired by anyone that was in a militia in South Carolina. Like if you were a militia in South Carolina, boom, that's Mel Gibson's character. So essentially he was like, Mel Gibson was inspired by like the entire army, essentially.
Damn, that's flattering.
And that which is funny. That's about basically it, aside from the two other guys. But yeah, and as far as like historical inaccuracies, like the biggest controversies like with this movie specifically were the fact that these characters' depiction in the movie versus real life were completely different, 100% different. So Mel Gibson's character, Ben Martin, was actually based on a homicidal maniac, which was Francis Marion. So apparently being called the Swan Fox wasn't the only thing he was known for. Marion was actually tasked with fighting groups of freed slaves, and he was ordered to execute any blacks suspected of carrying provisions or gathering intelligence for the enemy. Which, if you're racist and you're in the South, that's basically everyone that's black.
Yeah.
So, Marion, he was also a supposed serial rapist, and he hunted down Native Americans for fun. Oh, and he was a slave owner, to the surprise of no one.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Even Mel Gibson said it was a cop-out to not make Ben Martin a slave owner. And again, not to the surprise of anyone, that Mel Gibson wants to pretend to own black people as slaves.
It's like he shows up on set on day one. He's like, where are my slave actors at? And the director's like, hey, your character does not have slaves in this movie. And he's like, what the fuck? I was told there'd be slaves. It's in my contract. Call my agent.
Oh, yeah. That definitely happened on day one on the set for Mel Gibson. He had a whip in hand, everything.
He's like, I went out and bought this custom leather whip. It's got my initials on it.
MG. But yeah, so the guy he was based on was a huge asshole and a crazy person. So in fact, Mel Gibson's kind of that person anyway. I mean, I'm not saying he's a slave owner, but he's crazy.
He's crazy.
And this guy sounds crazy. So the controversies actually surrounded Jason Isaacs' character of William Tavington were based on the fact that Tarleton was not actually as bad as he was depicted in the movie. So he was still known by the Continentals as Bloody Ban, because his name was Bannister, and the Butcher, which, last I checked, those weren't good nicknames to have if you weren't a ruthless person.
The Butcher, like nobody who's like reading to old people for and like doing charity work is nicknamed the Butcher.
No. Unless he in fact owned a butcher shop and was known as the town's butcher.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reason he was actually known for these two nicknames, which he got nicknamed off. He like they like flip flopped the nicknames. Like, no, I nickname you the Butcher.
They're having a nickname duel.
Yeah. So he was actually a part of what was called the Waxhaw Massacre. The whole thing was the accusation was that he had his men murder Americans that had already surrendered. So what happened was what he claims happened was that when they were surrendering, a stray shot was fired and hit his horse and knocked him out. And apparently his soldiers thought he was dead, and they charged and murdered a bunch of newly POWs. So Tarleton didn't murder innocent men, women, and children like how Tavington does when he orders the church to be burned down with people inside it. Plus, he kills Ben Martin's son, Thomas. None of that happened. He didn't murder innocent women and children.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it makes me like the villain was a really good villain because he was really evil.
Yeah,
and it kind of like makes me feel shitty that he's not like that at all. He's just like, oh, it was an accident. People got hurt. It's fine.
It definitely takes away from the movie villain because he's a great villain.
Yeah, he is
in the
villain.
movie. In the movie or in the real life, it's just like he's a normal guy who's not completely crazy evil.
Yeah, and it makes us sound like assholes because basically all the infamy that he received was because of like rebel propaganda depicting him as a ruthless murderer.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but Paul Revere gave the name Boston Massacre, and it was like a complete over-exaggeration. It was like one guy got nervous and he shot one person. I think like 2 people died. And they make it seem like they killed like hundreds.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because like the Americans were like throwing rocks at the British soldiers. And so like one guy accidentally discharged his weapon and then the rest of them discharged their weapons, which again, it's not like cops who have like 10 rounds and they're just like blowing rounds off into someone's fucking chest. It's just like one fucking shot. And I think it killed like 2 people. So.
Wow. That's crazy.
But, yeah. And it's also interesting because Tarleton also survived the war. Unlike Tavington in the movie, who gets killed.
Yeah.
He also outlives Francis Marion by 38 years.
Gee, so he's 16 when they started the war?
Yeah, I guess so. And he was actually well respected and rich, unlike in the movie. Because in the movie, it shows that he's like from nobility, but like he has no money left.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, in real life, he was from a good family, well respected, and he was also rich and not trying to buy Ohio like how it is in the movie. Oh, and he also became a member of parliament and a baronet, which is a rank between a knight and a baron, in case you didn't know what that was, because I didn't know.
I did not know what that was.
I was like, do they mean baron? There has to be a misspell here. But yeah. So that is the Patriots. So just like my Americans fought off oppressive people, your next guys in your movie fight off a pretty oppressive empire as well.
Yeah, mine. I picked this one thinking that there would be a lot of inaccuracies in this movie, and there's apparently not. So I chose 300.
Okay, so there's a giant sex tent.
There is not a giant sex tent,
and not a sex tent like the naval tool to navage. I'm talking about like a tent, a fuck tent, if you will,
like an orgy tent. No, there was not.
With circus freaks.
There was not one of those. That was actually a liberty that they took with the movie there. So that's not real.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm going to do this one a little different. This is going to be like a Q&A type thing. Like, was it real? Did it happen in the movie? Did it happen in real life? So I'll just start with their fucking outfits in the movie. So did they actually fight with no body armor? No, they did not fight with no body armor because that's fucking stupid.
Well, if anything, it made them more nimble.
It did, like, and Frank Miller actually said, like, I wanted them to be able to move properly without, like, big, bulky armor and stuff like that. So that's why he said that he didn't add armor to him. But, again, It's like, really, it's stupid, because that would never happen.
Right.
So, also playing off of how they looked, King Leonidas's helmet was the only one that was plumed. And
Yeah.
that is not accurate. That actually all Spartan in real life have that.
Yeah.
So that was not realistic. So
But I guess
far-
it should be said that the movie is technically based on the comic
right.
that's based on the
Right. So
event.
So I guess what I'm going over is the movie, which is pretty close to how the comic is. So the movie and the comic in this are going to go kind of hand in hand.
right.
So Frank Miller actually said that he wanted Leonidas to stand out, so that's why he made his helmet plumed and nobody else's.
Okay.
So another liberty they took with the movie. So this actually kind of gets into like the story behind it. So were the Spartans actually the good guys? In the movie, yeah, they were portrayed as the good guys. In real life, no, they were not the good guys.
What?
Yeah, so
That just blew my dick off.
they weren't the bad guys, but they weren't as good as they were portrayed in the movie.
Like in the movie, they were at war. I mean,
They
how
were
much?
they were at war, but it made it seem like the Spartans didn't have any dirty laundry coming to the battle. But in reality, they had taken land all across Greece and basically enslaved like tons and tons and tons of people
Oh shit!
and forced them to fight in the army. So it wasn't it wasn't like all fun and games for the Spartans.
So they were because in the movie they're fighting against like being enslaved, and they're over here owning slaves.
Correct. Yeah. So
They're like, we'll own slaves. We're not going to be slaves. Okay,
yeah, get the fuck out of here. Be a slave.
that shit sucks. I have one.
I have one. I treat him so bad. So also in the movie, they like basically discard their unfit offspring, and in real life, that is true. They do that. They basically kill them. Anyone who has like any type of birth defect at all, they're just discarded and killed.
But I mean, obviously, it's only physical because it's not like this kid has autism or something.
Yeah, because that shit didn't exist back then, or they didn't know what it was.
Well, yeah, they definitely didn't know what it was.
It's like, this kid has a limp. Let's kill the motherfucker.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, so that actually was pretty realistic.
Oh, that's fucking crazy.
And another crazy thing that I like never knew. So in the movie, the boys leave at age 7 for warrior training. That is true. They do that. Yes.
How do you train to be a warrior at 7 years old?
It takes a long time. So they train from when they are 7 until they're about 25. So they're like the
Killing
like,
machines.
best trained of this era.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
So also in the movie, when Leonidas is doing his rite of passage, he has to kill a wolf. That does not actually happen in real life. Yeah, that would have been fucking
They're like,
crazy.
yeah, they're like, all right, we're getting a little too much. Like the kids can train when they're 7. We can't make them kill wolves.
Yeah. So one of the biggest issues with the movie is actually the number 300. So in the movie, it's 300 Spartans against thousands of Persians.
Well, I think it was like 1 million.
Yeah, I think they said it was like 1 million. It actually wasn't 1 million.
Okay.
But it wasn't actually 300 Spartans. They had roughly 3,000, and 300 was actually the last remaining troops, like at the end.
Okay.
So they had a lot more troops. Most of them were slaves, of course. But while the whole battle is going on, the Persians are fighting the Greek fleet. So there's like a whole nother sea battle going on that they don't even show in the like. It doesn't even seem like the
I
Spartans.
think that was
have.
the second one. That's what the second one was for. Remember, it was like the giant naval battles.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't even mention it in the first one.
Oh no, they don't.
So that's kind of
Well, they said the sea. Remember the ocean. Took
yeah,
the
but I
ships.
think in the movie, the Persians do have a fleet that are like surrounding the sea side of the 300 battle.
Okay.
But in real life, like they were off fighting like a war on their own. Like the fleets were fighting each other.
Okay. Cool.
So the Persians, King Xerxes, Is he actually 9 feet tall in real life? No, he wasn't 9 feet tall in real life.
Did he actually like climb on people's backs like stairs?
No, they made it seem
And
like in the
ride a
movie.
giant golden palace? on their head?
No. So in the movie he's riding like a fucking elephant or something.
No,
Or-
he's literally riding on a piece
yeah.
of floor.
Yeah.
He's basically like they're carrying a foundation on their fucking heads.
No, that didn't actually happen in real life.
Solid gold. That's what they were carrying.
Yeah, so in the movie, it kind of depicts him like being on the front lines, like talking to Leonidas, or
Yeah,
at least like commanding on the front lines.
right.
In real life, he never was on the front lines. He was pretty much behind the scenes the entire time. He never really saw battle. So
Okay.
that's completely different. And it was kind of funny, like when I watched the movie, I knew his voice sounded really fucking stupid. I hated his voice in the movie. And Zack Snyder said that he changed his voice because his voice in the movie didn't match the 9 foot tall Xerxes, which is weird because he's not 9 feet tall in real life. So why didn't they just like make him his regular height, keep the regular actor's voice?
When you're 9 feet tall, do you sound differently?
Well, in the movie, they made him like, they like sewed his voice down so it was really deep.
Deep, yeah.
And
He was like Andre the Giant.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I didn't like the voice.
But just because you're a big guy doesn't mean you have a deep voice. I mean, look at fucking
Look at Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson. Yeah, yeah. Shit, imagine if Xerxes was like, he spoke like that. Leonidas, I think that you, I think you and your 300 Spartans need a. God damn. Okay.
So, this one was actually crazy. Did Leonidas really consult an oracle to aid in his decision to go to battle? Yes, he did. Apparently, there was an oracle on retainer that was just like there for big decisions like this. And it did kind of work out like it did in the movie, where in real life, she just whispers gibberish and the council determines like what she actually said, and that's what they tell Leonidas they said. That actually happens in real life.
So basically, they just deliberate and say that she was the one that said it.
Pretty
Okay.
much. Yeah, pretty much. And this happens in a lot of decisions in Leonidas's reign. Like he consults an oracle.
Okay.
Did the Persians use elephants and rhinos like they did in the movie? No, they didn't. Because you can't train a fucking elephant or a rhino to do that type of shit.
Dude, that elephant in that movie was like the Mermakill in Lord of the Rings.
Yes, it was.
Like they had like straight up houses on their fucking backs.
Yeah, and the elephant in the movie was like 30 feet tall.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
No, it was tall. It was taller than that. It was like fucking 60 feet tall. It was like double that.
ridiculous.
It was huge and it had like 50 fucking tusks.
Yeah, it did.
had, like,
Yeah, it was just like the
they
one.
literally just took it from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
they
it
literally
was.
just took it from Lord. Because there had like Archer. There was like an Archer tower on top of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Fucking A.
and then an armored rhino. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
So
Did Xerxes have the big like the fat guy with like the nipple pierced with the little chain where he like had like the claw arms? Cut the guy's head off. The executioner that had like the claw. You know what I'm talking about? He had like the crab arms.
from what I've read, nothing mentions the guy with the crab arms
And the nipple piercing. That
and
has
the nipple piercings. No, that was not
Okay.
mentioned.
Okay.
Damn,
I wanted to clear that up.
So in the movie, the Spartans are betrayed by that hunchback fuck. And this actually is a true story. He wasn't a hunchback, deformed motherfucker.
What was his name again?
Ephialtes?
Ephialtes. Yeah, that's right. Ephialtes.
Oh man, these fucking Greek names.
Yeah. So the hunchback guy wasn't hunchback.
He wasn't hunchback. He was a traitorous motherfucker, though. So in the movie, he is like denied basically by Leonidas and just goes to the Persians and tells them about the secret passageway.
Yeah.
In real life, he actually there's no like hard evidence of why he did it, but the assumption is that he was deformed, but he wasn't like a hunchback fuck. So he was deformed, and he feared for his life. So from Leonidas, so he ran to the Persians, and basically that's how it worked. He fought alongside the Persians, but he didn't like betray them. Like he didn't give up their position.
And definitely no sextant.
No sextant. Not, at least not that it mentions. I feel like that would have been mentioned.
Did he get his uniform? What does he say? That's one of my favorite scenes. And he's like, I want it all. Wine, women, power. And one last thing. I want a uniform. And then Xerxes is like, done. I just ask you to kneel. I don't know. I made him sound like Arnold. Imagine if Arnold's Leonidas out.
So in the movie, the women of Sparta are portrayed as like kind of having the power.
Like warriors.
Or at least being equals to the men.
Yeah.
That was accurate. The queen was actually one of Leonidas' strongest advisors, and she helped him with a lot of decisions that he made. And the famous catchphrase, "Tonight we dine in hell," that was actually said by Leonidas.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, it was.
But it was obviously in Greek, so it probably was like...
Yeah, so it was...
Publios.
Yeah, it was translated.
Helios.
I'm sure it wasn't at that time, "Tonight we dine in hell." It's been translated so many times in so many different languages. It's probably...
He's like, tonight we're eating because we have battle in the morning.
It's really hot and we're going to eat real soon.
Yeah. And they're like, tonight we dine in hell. What a badass. He's like, no, I just wanted a meal. I was just saying I was hungry.
So the last one I'll go over is, were the Spartans different than other Greeks, like they're portrayed in the movie? Yes, they are. Mostly because regular Greeks aren't fucking badasses like the Spartans were.
Clearly.
But the Greeks didn't take slaves like the Spartans did, which is like what the whole movie is about, is being slaves. The Spartans had, like we talked about, they had somewhat equal rights for women. Greeks did not. And Greeks also, they did have slaves, but it wasn't like on the level that the Spartans did. They didn't conquer land like the Spartans did.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. I mean, the movie, for being like a crazy comic book movie, is pretty historically accurate as much as it could
like
be.
The sort of, they have the I guess like the timeline still.
Yeah, the timeline
like,
checks out. The only thing that like really bothered me, and when I left the theater after watching this movie, I was like, why the fuck didn't they have subtitles? Because I hate seeing a foreign movie and not having it, because it just doesn't seem realistic to me.
Shit, you know what that was going to be? My fucking question.
Oh, shit.
If it's historical movies, would it be subtitles or not subtitles? So we might as well just say that was our question. Kevin, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Subtitles or no subtitles?
No.
Clearly, you're a sub. You're a sub.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a
subtitles.
subtitle guy.
If it's like if the movie's in Russia, I don't want like Jude Law saying a British accent like in Enemy at the Gates, despite how awesome that movie is.
I feel like for any foreign language and they're like translating it to American, it's always a British accent.
Always.
Really bothers me. Do they think Americans are that stupid to where they're like, oh, this Greek guy is English.
Definitely with a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
And
And this Persian guy who's probably never heard English in his life is just,
from Brazil.
Yeah, like this movie kind of pissed me off because I thought it was great, but it really annoys me when they don't have like period specific dialect.
Yeah, you need to have period specific dialect. Like I even applaud Apocalypto, the Mel Gibson movie, so much because of the fact that they spoke in like that like native language in Mexico or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like I've been watching Narcos, and I really appreciate the fact that they speak Spanish most of the time.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. All right, cool guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our, I guess, return to form episode with the historical movies. But let us know what historical movies you like. I felt like I learned a lot from this episode. It definitely was more of our educational episodes. This could be, like I said, this could be used in a format for class. So if any of you are a teacher, you can use us as a learning tool.
Again, last week we had the geologist joke. Like, we're hitting those niches really fine.
Yeah, we're starting to get into the education market.
Yeah. If you're a history teacher and happen to listen to the show, give us a shout out.
Exactly. Or a geology teacher, because we could talk about minerals all day.
Yeah, infinity minerals, which is confirmed apparently.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, if you want any more news on Wicked Hot, you can definitely give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Wicked Hot Talk, as well as partaking in our, guessing for next week's episode. Every Wednesday, we'll be dropping pictures to guess the week's episode. So definitely partake in that at Wicked Hot Talk on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously subscribe on iTunes, give us those 5 stars. We always appreciate it. And Kevin, is the giveaway still going on for the t-shirts?
Yeah, it goes on until May 1st. So it ends May 1st. So by the time this comes out, Tuesday, I think.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So we'll make sure to enter the giveaway, get a pretty cool free t-shirt. We'll catch you guys next week on another episode of Wicked Hot, and thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.